This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, The War Room, Part 15. When we left off, all hell had broken loose at the estate in Puerto Rico. The raid in Miami and all of the associated properties went off without a hitch. There were some casualties, but all in all, the feds were counting this one as a win. Ace Newport gave Q an ultimatum. And we were all surprised when he walked out of the room and told the feds not to cut Ace a deal, despite the fact that Ace clearly knew where Angela was and had dangled her in front of Q like a carrot. The federal agent was confused, but he did what Q asked. He took him to the airport hangar, and on the way, he asked Q, "What are we doing, man?" Q said, "I'm going to get my wife, and you're going to make other arrangements home for my team." The agent said, "You don't need to go all cowboy and run in there hot. Let us help you." Q said, "I don't need no help. You allowed me to participate in this operation because you know everything there is to know about me. That means you know that I grew up in the concrete jungle. Whether it was feast or famine, I always made sure my family ate. And because my parents didn't agree, they sent me off to school in North Carolina. But just like the Newport name, the St. James name holds weight in these streets. Now, for 20 years, I've been walking the straight and narrow. But about my wife and my kids, I'll kill everything moving." The agent said, "You're right. I know all about your past, which is why I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to save your wife and children and then not be there to take care of them. I don't want you visiting them through glass. Tell me where she is." Q cut him off and said, "I don't know where she is." "Then what would make you believe that Ace Newport knows where she is?" Q said, "My wife and I have 3 children. Clearly, he has eyes on my wife because he knows that she has 4 children with her. The 4th is my nephew, my brother Donovan's only son." The agent said, "When this is all over, you and I need to have a talk. You don't have a tail. There was nothing in your body language, your demeanor, or even your pulse rate that indicated that you picked up on that. The agency needs you." Q said, "The agency can kiss my..." Then they pulled up at the hangar. When Q was done with his pre-flight inspection and he had an all clear to take off, he sat in the empty plane, took a deep breath, and called his Uncle Art. When his uncle answered the phone, he said, "Hey, nephew, what's going on?" Q said, "Where is she?" Art said, "Now you know we shouldn't be discussing this on the phone. Come by." And Q said, "I don't have time for that. I have a confirmed threat on my wife's life. Where is she?" Art said, "How do I..." Q said, "A man just looked me in my face and told me that he has eyes on my wife and my 4 children. Art said, "But you have 3 children," Q said. Art said, "So that means that he knows that Donovan's son is with her and he thinks he's my son." Then Art said, "My God. Well, son, when I flew her to New York, there was a private plane waiting at the hangar. I don't know where she is." Q said, "What?" Then he banged his hands against his head and just shook it and said, "Think, you damn it, think." Then Q stopped and took a few deep breaths and tried to calm and center himself and level out his pulse. And then he prayed to God and said, "Lord, I need your help." Then he asked his Uncle Art, "How did you know to meet her at the hangar?" Art said, "Well, that's just it. The day after everything went down, I was at home sleep, and all of a sudden somebody was at my door. I went to the door with the pistol, and it was a man in a suit, and he was driving a town car. I knew that couldn't be danger, so I opened the door to see what he wanted, and he handed me a cell phone. The man on the phone told me that he knew everything that happened at the house and that Angela needed me. He told me that they were at the bunker at your house and that they needed to get to New York and that the man driving the car was going to take me to meet them. At first, I was kind of skeptical, but then he said that on your first date with Angela, you took her to the hangar and you told her that if anything ever went wrong and she had to get going fast, to call me. And I knew that if he knew that, then he knew Angela. Q said, thank you, Unc. Now, did the man tell you his name? Art said, no, he wouldn't tell me. Q and his Uncle Art ended the call, and then Q said, Lord, come on. You gotta give me something. Tell me where to go. Tell me who to call. I need counsel. And when he said counsel, it hit him. Q called Jeffrey Weinstein, and when Jeffrey answered the phone, he said, Q, is everything okay? Q said, no, Angela's in danger, and I need to get there now. Jeffrey paused and said, you're too late. Meanwhile, in Puerto Rico, Angela and the children are all together in a small room. And Angela's praying and thinking about everything that happened a little over 3 months ago, the day that her whole world got flipped upside down. She'd just gotten off the phone with Regina. They were finalizing plans for her youngest godson, Anders' first birthday. And then Angela's phone rang again. It was Marcia. Marcia was just calling to check in and see how Angela and the children were and how her and Q's trip to Puerto Rico was. They talked until Marcia pulled up at her house and went into the condo. And then Angela heard a scream, a bang, and the phone went dead. When Angela called back, she didn't get an answer. So she immediately called Q. And she didn't get an answer there either. So then she called LJ. And just as he answered the phone, somebody rung her doorbell. Angela checked the camera, and there was an officer in a DPD uniform standing on her front porch. So she told LJ, the police are here. LJ said, how many? Angela said, just one. LJ said, do you see patrol cars? Angela looked on all the cameras surrounding the property and didn't see a single patrol car or any other car. She said, no, there's no cars out there. LJ said, don't open that door. Get the kids and Mom Brenda and go in the safe room. I'll be right there. Angela was confused, but she knew enough about law enforcement to know that officers very rarely go to houses alone. And when they do, they make sure that they park their patrol vehicle in a visible location so that if anything goes down, they can be located. There'd be no reason for a police officer to park far away and walk to somebody's front door. So Angela was concerned as well. She hightailed it to the safe room with the children and Mom Brenda. Within moments of clearing the threshold, she heard the front door fly off the hinges. She closed and barricaded the door from the inside and immediately tried to call LJ back. And she didn't get an answer. So then she tried to call Q again. And again, no answer. Then she heard a vibrating sound coming from the cabinet where they stored all of the emergency technology. When she opened the cabinet, there was a satellite phone inside. And it had just received a text message. On the screen was a message from Q that said, love, don't call anybody and don't answer your personal phone. Stay where you are, watch the cameras, and do not leave that room until you hear my voice. Angela showed the text message to Mom Brenda. Then she powered on the monitor inside the cabinet and watched as all the screens for all the cameras all over the property came up. And then she and Mom Brenda watched as 6 or 7 men ran up and through her home. Mom Brenda tried to divert the children's attention by praying with them and talking with them just to keep them calm. And then Angela's cell phone rang. When she looked down at the screen, it was Regina's number. So instinctively, she answered it. Angela said, hello, Gigi? Then she heard a man say, come out, wherever you are, or your best friend's gonna die. Then she heard Regina say in the background, don't listen to them. And Miss Brenda snatched the phone out of her hands. Mom Brenda said, Angie, Q told you not to answer this phone. Angela said, oh my God, they've got Regina. When baby Chance started crying, Angela immediately started pulling herself together. She grabbed him and picked him up and started rocking him, and then she turned back to the monitors. After about 20 or 30 minutes, her entire home was ransacked, and there was a fire going in the master bedroom. In addition, there was no sign of LJ, Q, or the real police. Angela looked at Mom Brenda and said, "We gotta get the hell out of here." Mom Brenda said, "Q said to stay put." Angela said, "But what if I never hear his voice?" Mom Brenda said, "Angela, you're gonna have to center yourself. This room is sound, fire, and waterproof. If push comes to shove and we do have to get out of here, we're not going through that door. We're going through that tunnel." One of the upgrades that Q and Donovan and Pops Andy made to the house after it was built and purchased was the safe room, a tunnel, and a bunker. Just as Angela fully processed the magnitude of Mom Brenda's statement, Mom Brenda pointed at the monitor and said, "Look." When Angela turned around, she could see that all of the lights in the house had gone out, but all of the cameras had night vision, so she was able to clearly see Q sneaking into his study through a hidden door. Then he put on night vision goggles, reached into a safe in the wall, and pulled out 2 huge guns and 2 silencers. Angela looked at Mom Brenda looked at Angela, and they both were like, "What the hell?" Then they watched as Q crept through the house, picking off each of the men, one by one. Mom Brenda made Michael and Melissa turn their backs and cover their eyes, and then she covered Angel's. They watched as Q made his way to the kitchen, and then he was startled by 2 of the men. They had gone in the backyard looking for Angela and the kids, and they were coming back in through the back door. Q took a shot and hit one of the men, but both of the men started returning fire. Q dove behind the kitchen island, and it was unclear as to whether he was hit. Then shots were flying everywhere, and when Angela looked at the upstairs cameras, she could see that the entire second floor was engulfed in flames. Then the unimaginable happened. The ceiling in the kitchen collapsed on Q and the 2 men. The camera in the kitchen went out. Angela screamed and froze. After about 45 seconds, Angela heard Q's voice come in over the intercom, and he said, "Love," in a barely audible voice. He was clearly struggling. "Remember our first date? Go there." Then Angela looked at Mom Brenda and said, "Let's go." Mom Brenda grabbed Angel and handed him to Michael and Melissa and said, "Do not let his hand go. Angela, I'm not going with you." Angela said, "What? But you said," Mom Brenda said, "I don't have time to go back and forth with you. I can't run with you, Angela. First of all, I'll just slow you down. Second, I need to find out what happened to Marcia. I promised her father that I would take care of her, and I'm not going to break that promise. And I need to get up there and see if I can help Q get out of this house." Angela tried to talk Mom Brenda out of it by saying, "If you can't run and keep up, how do you think you're going to get a 6'3", 200+ pound man out of a house that's on fire?" Mom Brenda said, "Angela, I heard God clearly on this. Get those children to that bunker and do whatever it is that Q told you to do. He'll find you. Take care of my grandbabies. I love you." Mom Brenda slipped the satellite phone in Angela's pocket, pushed the thing on the wall that made it slide open, pushed Angela and the kids through it, closed it, and locked it, and Angela realized that there was no way back into the house from the other side. So she took the kids and ran to the bunker.